he quietly guided her down the drive and over the road to Onabasha. He went to an undertaking establishment, made all his arrangements, and then called up and talked with the minister who had performed the marriage ceremony the previous day. The sun shining in her face awoke Ruth, and she lay revelling in the light. "Maybe it will colour me faster than the powder," she thought. "How peculiar for him to say what he did. I always thought men detested it, but he is not like any one else." She lay looking around the beautiful room and wondering where the Harvester was. She could not hear him. Then slowly and painfully she dragged her aching limbs from the bed and went to the door. The dog was gone from the porch, and she could not see the man at the stable. She selected a frock and putting it on, opened the door. Belshazzar arose and offered this letter: "Dear Ruth, I have gone to keep my promise. You are locked in with Bel. Please obey me and do not step outside the door until 4 o'clock. Then put on a pretty white dress and with the dog come to the bridge to meet me. I hope you will not suffer and fret. Put away your clothing, arrange the rooms to keep busy, or better yet, lie in the swing and rest. There is food in the ice chest, pantry, and cellar. Forgive me for leaving you today, but I thought you would feel easier to have this over. I am so glad to bring your mother here. I hope it will make you happy enough to meet us with a smile. Do not forget the pink box until the reality comes. With love, David." The Girl went to the kitchen and found food. She offered to share with Belshazzar, but she could see from his indifference he was not hungry. Then she returned to the room flooded with light and filled with treasures, and tried to decide how she would arrange her clothing. She spent hours opening boxes and putting dainty, pretty garments in the drawers, hanging the dresses, and placing the toilet articles. Often she wearily dropped to the chairs and couches, or gazed from the doors and windows at the pictures they framed. "I wonder why he doesn't want me to go outside," she thought. "I wouldn't be afraid in the least, with Bel. I'd just love to go across to that wonderful little river of Singing Water and sit in the shade. But I won't open the door until 4 o'clock, just as he wrote." When she thought of where he had gone and why, the swift tears filled her eyes, but she forced them back and resolutely went to investigate the dining room. Then for 2 hours she was a home builder, with a touch of that homing instinct found in the heart of every good woman. First she looked where the Harvester had said the dishes were, and suddenly sat on the floor exulting. There was a quantity of old, chipped, and cracked white ware, and some gorgeous baking powder prizes, but there were also big blue, green, and pink bowls, several large lustre plates, and a complete tea set without chip or blemish, 2 beautiful pitchers, and a number of willow pieces. She set the green bowl on the dining table, the blue on the living room, and took the pink herself, while a beautiful yellow one she placed in the dining room window seat. Oh, if I only dared fill them with those lovely flowers! She stood in the window and gazed longingly toward the lake. "I know what colour I'd like to put in each of them," she said, "but I promised not to touch anything, and the ones I want most I never saw before, and I'm not to go out anyway. I can't see the sense in that, when I'm not at all afraid, but if he does this wonderful thing for me, I must do what he asks. Oh mother, mother, are you really coming to this beautiful place and to rest at last?" She sank to the window seat and lay trembling, but she bravely restrained the tears. After a time she remembered the upstairs and went to see the coverlets. She found a 1/2 beautiful ones and smiled as she examined the stiffly conventionalized birds facing each other in the border designs. And in one corner of each blanket she read, woven in the cloth, "Peter and John Hartman, Wooster, Ohio, 1837." She took a blue and a green one, several fine skins from the fur box the Harvester had told her about, and went downstairs. It required all her strength to push the heavy tables before the fireplaces. She spread papers on them to stand on, and tacked a skin above each mantel. She set all of the candlesticks, except those she wanted to use, in the lower part of an empty bookcase. A pair of black walnut she placed on the living room mantel, together with a big blue plate, a yellow one, and an old brass candlestick. She admired the effect very much. She spread the blue coverlet on the couch and arranged the blue bowl and some books on the table. Here and there she hung a skin across a chair back, or spread it in a wide window seat. Having exhausted all her resources, she returned to the dining room, spread a skin before the hearth and in each window seat, set a pink and green lustre plate on the mantel and a pair of oak candlesticks, and arranged the lustre tea set on the side table. The pink coverlet she took for herself, and after resting a time, she was surprised on going back to the rooms to see how homelike they appeared. At 3 o'clock she dressed, and at almost 4 unlocked the screen, called Belshazzar to her side, and slowly went down the drive to the bridge. She had used the pink powder, put on a beautiful white dress, carefully arranged her hair, and she wore the pearl ornament. Once her fingers strayed to the pendant, and she said softly, "I think both he and mother would like me to wear it." At the foot of the hill she stopped at a bench and sat in the shade waiting. Belshazzar stretched beside her and gazed at her with questioning, friendly dog eyes. The Girl looked from Singing Water to the lake and up the hill to make sure it was real. She tried to quiet her quivering muscles and nerves. He had asked her to meet him with a smile. How could she? He could not have understood what it meant when he made the request. There never would be any way to make him realize, indeed, why should he? The smile must be ready. He had loved his mother deeply, and yet he had said he did not grieve to lay her to rest. Earth had not been kind. Then why should she sorrow for her mother? Again, life had been not only unkind, but bitterly cruel. Belshazzar arose and watched down the drive. The Girl looked also. Through the gate and up the levee came a strange procession. First walked the Harvester alone, with bared head, and he carried an armload of white lilies. A carriage containing a man and several women followed. Then came a white hearse with snowy plumes, and behind that another carriage filled with people, and Betsy followed, drawing men in the spring wagon. The Girl arose, and as she stepped to the drive she swayed uncertainly an instant. "Gracious Heaven!" she gasped. "He is bringing her in white and with flowers and song." Then she lifted her head and with a smile on her lips she went to meet him. As she reached his side he tenderly put an arm around her and came on steadily. "Courage, Girl," he whispered. "Be as brave as she was." Around the driveway and up the hill he half carried her to a seat he had placed under the oak. Before her lay the white lined grave, and the Harvester arranged his lilies around it. The teams stopped at the barn, and men came up the hill bearing a white burden. Behind them followed the minister who yesterday had performed their marriage ceremony, and after him a choir of trained singers softly chanting, "Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord, for they shall cease from their labors." "But David," panted the Girl, "it was mean and poor. That is not she." "Hush!" said the Harvester. "It is your mother. The location was high and dry, and it has been only a short time. We wrapped her in white silk, laid her on a soft cushion and pillow, and housed her securely. She can sleep well now, Ruth. Listen." Covered with white lilies, slowly the casket sank into earth. At its head stood the minister, and as it began to disappear, the white doves, frightened by the strange conveyances at the stable, came circling above. The minister looked up. He lifted a clear tenor, and softly and purely he sang, while at a wave of his hand the choir joined him. "Oh come, angel band, oh come and around me stand. Oh bear me away on your snowy wings to my immortal home." He uttered a low benediction, and singing, the people turned and went downhill. The Harvester gathered the Girl in his arms and carried her to the lake. He laid her in his boat and taking the oars sent it